This is Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to Motorsport Radio. I'm Lester, and in this special episode, we will be chatting to McLaren Young driver Lando Norris, as well as our expert Formula 3 journalist Connor Jackson, who also joins us right now, both on Skype. Hello to you both.
Hello. Hey, mate. How are you doing?
So, Lando, we're speaking a couple of weeks before the Formula 1 season gets underway and less than a month after you've been announced as joining McLaren F1 and on their young driver programme. That's an amazing achievement. Already,
it's been
before the season started.
Good few months to good start to the season. Obviously a good kickstart. We have to wait and see how the racing goes. And
we released a sort of a top 10 list of sort of ones to watch about a month ago as well, just before the start of the season. You were one of the ones to watch. Maybe McLaren might have been sort of paying attention to that because I don't know. I suspect perhaps not though. Just tell us then what your sort of new role entails. I mean, you'll be obviously balancing your young driver program at McLaren F1 with your full season Formula 3 drive in Europe. But what will you specifically be doing? Will it all be sim work?
A lot of it is sim work. So that was also part of the McLaren Autosport Award, was to be doing a year of sim work for McLaren. So I've already done 3 days, I think, on the sim. But now being part of the actual young driver program, I get to introduce a lot more people. You kind of feel a bit more like you're part of the team, and you get to use all their facilities, the training facilities, swimming pool, whatever, basically. So I kind of feel a bit more at home in there, and you just get a lot more information from everyone who can help you in all different areas, from the media to the training to getting to know more people. So I think it's definitely been a positive start.
Well, indeed it has, because to join McLaren F1, a highly prestigious team, of course, and you don't need me to sort of tell you their history, of course. Even if it is just sim work, I mean, has there been any sort of talk at all about perhaps having a little test, or is that perhaps too early to talk about actually being in the car and doing a few laps?
Yeah, I think at the moment it's probably a bit too early. Obviously, they have 2 other drivers who are on the junior program. So, yeah, I think it's a bit too early to kind of go into too many talks with them and like wanting to do it. Obviously, I'm sure they know that's what I want to do. But it's not just me. There's 2 other drivers who probably get the same opportunities as me. So if I am going to want them, obviously I've got to prove myself this year in F3. And if I can, then hopefully, and I'm sure more opportunities will come up at the end of this year or next year. So I guess we're going to have to kind of just wait and see.
A few more opportunities, you say. I can't help but think of a recent graduate from Euro F3 into Formula 1, someone who's taken quite a similar career progression as well, and his name is Max Verstappen. I know you might probably not like the comparison, but you have already just signed with the Formula 1 team, and you are about to start your first and perhaps only season of Euro F3. This time next year, Lando, you could be in Formula 1.
Yeah, it seems a bit odd to kind of think about it, because I've gone from the past few seasons in Renault and F4 thinking, I've still got 2 or 3 years, and then I go into like Renault, still think I've got 2 or 3 years. And now that I would be 18 at the end of this year, and then have an opportunity to be able to go into Formula 1 next year, would be obviously something pretty cool to think about. But I don't want to kind of go in over my head. I'd rather just focus on F3 and my season coming up, because it's definitely going to be one of the hardest ones. But yeah, I hope, whether it is, driving with McLaren in Formula One next year, or just doing some Friday tests or something like that. I think those are more the kind of opportunities I'm talking about. But yeah, it's still a bit of a waiting game. We'll have to see how this season goes first.
Yeah, I didn't want to put too much sort of pressure on you and expectation, but it's just a comparison that people will make because they see other people have done it before. You're on the way to doing it, and it's just natural to put two and two together. Talking about your Formula 3 campaign, journalist from the Checkered Flag and Formula 3 expert Connor Jackson is also here with us. And Connor, you've got some questions, I'm sure, for Lando.
Indeed, Lester. It's been a wild ride I've seen with your career so far, Lando, and it's been impressive to watch, I'll say. But obviously, you're coming into a new season now with Colin. You've got a great history with them, but in Euro F3, Colin have not really been the front runners, especially in the last couple of years. What's your sort of expectations going into the years? Can you beat the Prima boys?
That is the big question, and I do feel pretty confident. Like you said, we have a kind of good history together, doing the past 2 seasons in cars. So on the side of kind of knowing everyone, knowing all the engineers, team manager, mechanics, whoever, I think on that side of things we can be as strong as anyone else. The past few seasons for Colin have definitely not gone well on the FIA F3 side of things, but we, doing the kind of the last 2 races of the season last year, both in Hockenheim and Macau, I think obviously Colin proved that the car and the pace from the team were very good. Obviously with Antonio winning Macau, but more so in Hockenheim, where it's more about kind of the car, whereas Macau is a lot more, I guess, about the driver than anything. So I think in Hockenheim, both obviously Jake, myself and Dan proved the car was very fast. We had good qualifying results together, especially Jake. So I think it's not as bad as what it looked. They've just not had the luck with, let's say, having the strongest drivers. So I think, yeah, they've been made look in some ways a bit worse than what they should have done. I believe that going into this season with both Jayan and Ferdinand as my teammates, obviously Jayan I've had as a teammate almost since karting, but we all know between the three of us that we're going to push each other very hard, as we have done in the testing already. And yeah, there's been a lot of steps forward from kind of my side, their side, the whole of the team side of things. So I'm confident we've made some good steps as a team and improvements to kind of take on Prema. But I know it will be still a very hard season, whatever happens. I'm going against a few drivers who have done racing now for 2 or 3 years in FIA F3, and it makes obviously a big difference. I don't even know how many drivers I have, but very few drivers have gone in and won on their first season, the actual championship. So I guess if I'm able to do that, I think it'll be a very good result for everyone. But yeah, it's a bit hard to know really what we're looking like until we get to that first race of the season, and then I'll be able to kind of judge how we can go on from there. But I'm confident that we're able to kind of take the game to Prema and challenge them for wins.
Yeah. I mean, quick reminder to everyone at home that the last time a Euro Cup champion stepped straight into F3 was Esteban Ocon, and we all know how that went in his first season. So there's a lot of pressure obviously coming in on your shoulders, Lando, and
yeah,
you've done very well to handle it so far, and I think you can definitely go into the season level-headed. But as you say, you mentioned about the drivers coming back. You've got people like Gunther, I've said it, he's coming back. Elliott, as well as some of the good rookies from last year, like Ralph Aaron, and of course your teammates, as you mentioned. But is there any sort of big races you want to get good results from? I know you've raced at places like Spa and Monza in the past, obviously with the Euro Cup and F3. But there's a couple of circuits that obviously you haven't raced at before. And what's your expectations going into these places where you don't have an advantage?
I'm still pretty confident in we're able to go into those races and still do very well. I think I tend to learn tracks pretty quickly compared to some drivers. So like in Renault, that's where I think I did pretty well last year, was when we went to Monaco, for instance. Although I got disqualified from qualifying, I think in both the whole practice session and qualifying, I was good from the very first lap, or fastest from the very first lap all the way till to the races, although it was wet. So I think that is a kind of a pretty strong point from my side of things. Like especially when we went to Macau last year, my very first session, I was P4, and although Po is still very different to the likes of Macau or Monaco, it's still a street circuit, so you have much less room for error compared to others. So it is a bit hard to say, but I think that's something I normally get on pretty well with. And we obviously have pretty good data from the past seasons in F3 from all the other drivers. So, it'll be a bit tough to kind of go in with, one practice session and then straight into qualifying. It's a bit harder doing that than having two or three and then going in like in Renault. So, I mean, it's going to be difficult, but I'm sure I can just go fine.
Lando, just to dive back in there, talking about your F3 season ahead, and sorry if this is a question that Connor was going to ask and I've maybe stole it, but who do you consider so far perhaps to be, other than yourself, of course, the ones to watch in F3? Who do you think perhaps your main rivals in the championship might be?
I know for sure both Gunther and I are going to be very fast. Obviously, Gunther was very fast last season, and we know that Prema are very fast. So I'm sure most or all of the drivers from Prema are going to be near the top. Especially Gunther and I, with the kind of experience they have in FIA 3. Both my teammates I know are very fast, so they're definitely not going to make my life easy. But I've beat them the past say 1 year, and I'm confident I'll be able to do it again in the FIA 3 car. But there's still a lot of others, like you said, Aaron Hughes was obviously my teammate in a couple of races last year, and I know he's very fast. So there's not just one or two. I think there's a good 4, 5, 6 drivers who I know are going to be challenging for the top. And that's something which makes it just a bit harder to kind of win against the likes of Renault. And I think there I had 3 or 4 drivers who are very good. Now there's a good chunk more that I'm going to have to go up against. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing to kind of get to used to is that I'm going to be racing a lot harder people kind of all the way throughout the pack. So hopefully I'll be at the top of that pack anyway. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the pace is like from everyone. Especially with the kind of the updates in the F3 car, some things can change. So I'm hoping that the team, Colin, will be strong from the off, and we can go from there.
Connor?
If you don't mind me buttering, Lando. Obviously, we all wish you luck with the title this year, Lando, but after the success we've got used to you having in the last couple of years, it's also this is going to be a very hard season for you. Looking obviously ahead, if the results maybe don't go your way, or you're not as close to the top of the championship as you want to be, where are you going looking forward? Are you looking for another season in Euro F3, or are you looking sort of sideways GP3, GP2 sort of style?
F2 now, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think the whole focus is on F3 at the moment, and like we talked about earlier, I think opportunities that can come from that, whether I go to Japan and race like Van Dorn did last year, that could be an option with McLaren. Whether it is GP3 or F2 now, I think it's a bit hard to say, or I can't say at all, basically. Obviously, I'd like to win this year. I think that really puts me in a good place for next season. But I think that's more of a talking point for kind of 3/4 of the way through the season, or pretty much just at the end. Because literally at this point, I have no clue of what I'm going to be doing next year. Because a lot of things can change with how this season goes.
And obviously, when you approach this year, it's obviously going to be very interesting to see how you race in different rounds. We've got a number of different drivers, unknown talents coming from abroad. I know we've got Makina coming from Japan, and PK is a driver you've never really raced against apart from in TRS. So there's a load of drivers that you don't know where you are in comparison to, and that will be interesting to find out. But McLaren are going to be watching all of this, and you need to obviously keep a level head when you're saying you are representing the McLaren name. You mentioned there's drivers ahead of you in the McLaren program, but as Verstappen proved, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You can leapfrog up a few positions.
Yeah.
So, are you also keeping an eye on your other junior compatriots? I know De Vries is there, and obviously the others that are around you.
Yeah, I think, of course, because I want to be the guy who gets the opportunities in Friday test or something in Formula One. Especially because it's only one team, McLaren Honda. There's no other kind of Honda manufacturers, which are teams which are running Honda engines. But if there are more, I think I wouldn't be, it wouldn't really matter. I'd have a good chance of getting put in another team for Friday sessions or something. But yeah, I'm not sure. It's not a race, but I think we all are going to prove as much as we can to McLaren, who should get a good chance of doing that. Whether I'd actually want to go straight into doing it now, when I probably have my biggest season ahead of me, that's kind of another question. But yeah, it's not something I'm really worried about. I think it's better for me just to concentrate on what I'm doing and not really mind about what the others are doing. Obviously, if I just focus on winning this year, that's the best I can do. Or even if I don't win, I come second or third. It's still, by the end, I would have said it's the best we can do. So obviously, it's something you kind of just look on and see, but you don't. Or I don't really just think about it. And just trying to kind of just be better than them.
Lando, Can I ask, with regards to getting the junior drive at McLaren F1, for those who know you and know what you do away from the racetrack, it's a lot more racing, sim racing in particular. Did your sim racing exploits have any sway over the decision for them to give you this position, do you think, or was that just a massive coincidence?
No, not at all, I don't think. I mean, I'm pretty good on iRacing, but I'm far from being the best in any way. I say the top team in iRacing, on the whole of sim racing, pretty much. So I'm teammates with the best of the best, and I struggle a lot compared to them. So I don't think that's something they've kind of looked on and taken any judgment about. I think that's just it's more I just kind of do it for fun, and it's something I enjoy doing.
You just kind of race with the world's best sim racers for fun. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
I can't even race with them because they just pull away. So I'm not that fast on it. I'm pretty good, but I'm not. I say nowhere near kind of the level of Gregor Hutu. So he's a 5-time world champion on it in Team Red Line. The season's obviously going on now for them, the World Championship Series. So I mean, I help them, and we go racing sometimes and just do some fun sessions. But I'm not even able to race them because I'll just finish last.
Still modest, even now. One final question from Connor.
I was just trying to think what we haven't gone through so far. No. I'll see. With the year ahead, you're definitely going to be one of the favourites, and I really wish you luck with that. And we'll see with the McLaren with the McLaren program, that's obviously something that's great advantage to you. What sort of advantage do you think the McLaren program gives you compared to the your rivals in, say, the Red Bull or the Ferrari sort of junior programs that are around you?
Well, it's a bit hard to know because obviously I haven't been on those programs, so it's hard to know what they obviously get. Obviously, with Red Bull, you have good opportunities to go in, not just Red Bull, but Toro Rosso as well. There were strong backing, so obviously there were a fair few number of drivers on it at the moment. And generally, it seems to be pretty strong. But like you said, you can go in as one driver being pretty good and just kind of get knocked out of place, like Kvyat did. So it's a bit unexpected with what might happen over there. Whereas I feel like with McLaren, hoping that Honda can improve and hopefully, take on some other teams instead of just having McLaren as a Honda kind of Honda runner. I think if one or two other teams would run Honda, which I'm sure they wouldn't at the moment, but then only having three of us on the junior program at the moment, that can obviously kind of open it up, and I would have a lot more opportunity to kind of to run in a team, but still backed by McLaren Honda. So like when you have Mercedes who ran with Verline and Ocon in Manor, or now Force India or Williams, it's good for them because there's a lot of kind of teams they can be put down as well. But kind of at least they're in Formula One and they can really prove something. But I think having the number of us in the McLaren Young Driver program at the moment is good compared to a few others. Obviously, Ferrari one, I'm not too I don't really know a lot about. You could say they haven't had the best record of getting young drivers into Formula One. They've backed a few, but they've never really brought someone all the way there. Whereas Red Bull have, and McLaren have now with Van Dorn or Magnussen or someone like that. So, yeah, it's hard to know. I don't know the most about what the other teams have to offer, but I know that the facilities is obviously something with McLaren that's a big positive, and it's something everyone I know, well, I'm pretty sure everyone would want to be a part of, and the people, the resources, and everything. It's it all just comes together, and I think it's better than the rest of the programs. It's kind of why I've chosen to go with them. I guess I kind of had the choice to go with another team or a couple of other teams. I was going to ask you
that. I did pick up on that word. You chosen to go with McLaren. That was going to be my other question. So presumably you did have other offers, perhaps from Red Bull or Renault?
I've had talks with them, but McLaren was the best choice and had the best kind of things to offer me, and help wise. They've said better things, and I have confidence in that they'll kind of agree, or the terms we've agreed on, I think is better than what the other teams can have. With Red Bull, anything can happen. The contract seems to be completely on the Helmut Marko side of things rather than the drivers. So anything can happen at any time, basically. Whereas with McLaren, there's a bit more scope with things. It's a bit more free, it's a bit more easy. And it's a team that everyone would want to drive with at some point. So, there's a number of things which made me make the choice of joining McLaren. And it's a team I have the most confidence in.
And presumably as well, it's a more stable environment. Their current testing problems aside, as you just mentioned, compared to other young driver programs where it's very much your future is very much dependent on the whim of one person, whether he's happy that weekend or such. Whereas with McLaren, you kind of get the impression that all their decisions are very carefully, scientifically measured to within a fraction of a millimetre and such, and every decision is taken like that, even to take on young charging drivers like yourself, perhaps.
Yeah, obviously, I guess the biggest talking point was the Kvyat Verstappen kind of situation, and I guess you could possibly say in the end maybe it was a good decision to make, having, say, Verstappen in Red Bull, because I don't really know who's a better driver, but I know Max is very good. And obviously he went in first race and proved that he was. So it's just that kind of thing which doesn't give me the confidence in kind of what could happen. Obviously they have a lot of drivers, so you could just be taken out at any point. You could be moved or something like that. Whereas with McLaren, it is more stable, and there's just a number of things which make it a better choice.
Okay, well, good luck trying to avoid those Verstappen comparisons, as I mentioned earlier, as well throughout the season, Lando. One final comment. I know I already said this earlier, but one final comment from Connor before we have to let you go.
Is basically just saying you've had great success. You've gone Formula 4, Formula Renault win, and now you're signed with McLaren. And a lot of people are starting to compare this with a certain other young driver who did this 10 years ago. And we've seen how Hamilton's career has sort of projected on, and how his success with McLaren and thus with Mercedes has been very beneficial to him. And Van Dorn himself has seen a career that's gone on very far. but do you not see any sort of pressures of being considered sort of the next generation's Lewis Hamilton?
Obviously, it's not the worst thing to kind of be compared to him. Let's say more on the driver side of things. Obviously he's a very good driver, and a lot of people would want to kind of be as good as him in the racing and speed wise. And obviously, he's won a good amount of championships, so I'm sure he's going to go on and win many more. I don't know when he's going to retire or finish in Formula One, but I'm sure it's going to be quite a few more years. But being, especially another British driver who could be in Formula One, I think that's definitely a pretty cool thing to kind of think about. I know that you could be supported just as well as the likes of Hamilton and Button and Palmer, of course. So, it's obviously not the worst thing being compared to Hamilton. But
it adds pressure as well. Sorry to butt in there, but it can, to some drivers as well, add pressure having that comparisons made about you constantly in the press by people like me and Connor.
I guess it brings pressure maybe to some people more so than me. I don't really dwell on it too much. Whether some people think it's a good thing or bad thing, it's a bit hard to know. But it's good in a way that's you are being compared to someone who's a very good driver, but I'm still who I am. I drive. I don't know if I drive differently or worse or better or what. But I'm a different person, so I'll go about it in a different way to how Hamilton would, and hopefully I can, be better than he was. That's a matter of time to kind of to think about.
So you're already setting your sights that high, are you? Really?
Well, I would like to hope so, but it's a whole different game in Formula One, especially this year with having the updates. It's all kind of mixed around a bit more, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if that opportunity does come in the future. I'll take full advantage of it.
Fantastic stuff. Lando, thank you very much for joining us on today's sort of show thing that we were putting together. One final thing from us. I know this wasn't meant to be a video. We usually just do this over audio. That might explain perhaps why it seems like you're still in a onesie.
Yeah, I am. I'm making the most of my relaxation I can have at home.
Why not? I just had to mention that because I noticed it, and I know other people would have noticed it as well. But sorry for that. But thank you so much for joining us and on Motorsport Radio today.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
This is Motorsport Radio.